E3 this year seems to be a little bit different than last year, where all attention was on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Well, back then, Super Smash Bros. Switch. But this year it seems to be quite different. They have not specified which games they will be focusing on. They have said that they will mostly focus on 2019 games, which is kind of obvious when we look at the long list of games. We have Super Mario Maker 2 coming up on June 28. We have Fire Emblem Three Houses coming out on July 26. Astral Chain coming out on August 30th. Then we don't have a release date for them yet, but we have Animal Crossing Switch, Luigi's Mansion 3 likely coming out in fall, September, October, then Pokemon Sword and Shield, Link's Awakening, and maybe even Town. So we have quite a lot to go over, but let's begin with the game that we know pretty much nothing about, namely Animal Crossing Switch.
Which is good, because this is the game that I am absolutely most excited for going into this E3. I did a prediction video with Josh a couple days ago, and I also commented on Nintendo Fangirl's tweet where she said, what are you most excited for E3? And I said, I'm all in for Animal Crossing, because I feel like Animal Crossing is a franchise where we only get a mainline Animal Crossing game once every 6-7 years or so. And this is a game that I've really wanted to see make a return on home consoles. Obviously, we had a handheld version already with New Leaf, and I adore New Leaf, but I feel like bringing Animal Crossing into HD, a real HD Animal Crossing game with some great Wi-Fi capabilities and some really great new mechanics, furniture sets. I mean, there's so much potential here, and I am incredibly excited for it. After Fire Emblem, this is hands down my most anticipated game of the year.
And Animal Crossing New Leaf had a very long lifespan. We saw it all the way from the launch, and then with all the DLC, Welcome Amiibo, and so on. And we also had Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, which had mixed reviews. The absolutely terrible Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, which was just, oh my god.
Pocket Camp, though, thankfully had a lot of really great furniture sets that I think they could pull from for this Animal Crossing game. Because if you remember, Pocket Camp was actually the first time in Animal Crossing franchise history that we got Pokemon furniture. That never happened before prior to Pocket Camp. Pokemon Company was always really weird about it. And considering Sword and Shield coming out this year, I think they'll probably end up having some type of Pokemon furniture set. Of course, the dream is to have little guest villagers of Pikachu and Eevee joining your Animal Crossing towns. That would be amazing. And I really did love where you can use the amiibos in New Leaf to bring in Epona and the Squid Sister themed characters. And so I'd really like to see that kind of thing come back.
Oh, absolutely. This is pretty much the next big step for Animal Crossing when it's returning back to consoles for... Well, I think the last game was on the Wii, if I'm not wrong.
It was
City Folk.
Yeah, it was City Folk. So it's been a very, very long time.
So it's a big step, and I think that the graphics that were shown in that reveal trailer are actually quite close to what we can expect. Because
in fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because something that I noticed during my Japan trip was there were little advertisements for Animal Crossing on the train. On almost every train in both Tokyo and Kyoto, there were these little 5-minute videos of Isabelle and KK Slider talking about animal facts and talking about, rhinos and elephants and just real life animal facts. But it was done in what looks like the same exact engine that the Isabelle trailer was in. Now, I'm assuming the Isabelle trailer was just CG, but I do expect the engine to look similar to that and those Animal Crossing commercials that I was seeing in Japan. And I honestly feel like that's fine. That's exactly what we need out of Animal Crossing. I don't think we ever need to see realistic fur on the Animal Crossing characters. I think it's best to have a nice, simple, clean HD look.
Yeah, pretty much just a cartoony look we've had always since day one. And Animal Crossing is all about day-to-day experience anyway. The way you dedicate time and are committed so that you don't show up after 3 months and everyone is quite pissed.
Right, exactly.
So when do you think we'll see Animal Crossing for the Nintendo Switch?
So I think this is going to be their November or December game, which is weird because I feel like Pokemon Sword and Shield is clearly in that November slot, just like Let's Go was last year. But I do think that if it's going to come out this year, it's going to come out really late this year. I don't think this is a late summer, early fall, even late fall release. And I think if any of the games on this list have any chance of being delayed, despite Nintendo's recent fiscal report where they said, nope, this is still on track for 2019, the only game game on that report that was delayed was Bayonetta. It was moved to TBA. I feel like it still has the potential to be delayed until maybe like February or March. So I'm hoping that it still comes out this year, but part of me still feels like it's going to be delayed. But if it does get delayed, we're not going to know about that until very, very late into this year. I think they're going to hold fast to the idea that this is going to be a 2019 release during all of the talk of Animal Crossing at E3.
Well, it might be also a good idea to spread out the big releases throughout the year. We have now Super Mario Maker 2 coming out on June 28, and then likely Pokemon Sword and Shield. Like, I think they both want to have both of those games, Pokemon Sword and Shield and Animal Crossing, as close to the holiday season as possible, because that's when the biggest rush of sales comes worldwide.
Especially considering all the other games that will probably be coming during the holiday season. I mean, we've got Pokemon, we've got Astral Chain, we've got Luigi's Mansion, we potentially have that town game. We're going to have more DLC for Smash Bros. There's going to be third-party stuff. There's going to be things, which I'm sure we'll talk about in the second half of this prediction thing, that we don't even know about yet, that will absolutely come out later this year. And so I think this is going to be a really packed year for Nintendo Switch, similar to that very first year that we had of the Switch. Obviously, last year was great for somebody like me. We got a remake of The World Ends With You, and we got a Pokemon Let's Go and Smash Bros. Ultimate. But I do feel like compared to that first year, the variety really wasn't there, and it seems like this year is bringing that variety back. So again, even if Animal Crossing does get delayed, it doesn't mean this year still isn't going to be really good. And that's the exciting thing going into this E3, is that we look at this giant list of games, and it's almost impossible for us to be disappointed this year. You know what I mean? It's like, I think we're going to find out so much information about all these games we're obviously excited about, that even if they only announce like 1 or 2 brand new games, that's gonna be fine, at least for me.
Yeah, like in many ways I would say that after we get Super Mario Maker 2 out, we see the end game of the big transition from 3DS to the Nintendo Switch. When it comes to the franchises that were present at the 3DS, that would say Fire Emblem, that will say Luigi's Mansion, that will say Animal Crossing, and that will say naturally Pokemon. When it comes to all of these games, it also seems that they might implement a number of online features, though. And then I mean specifically Super Mario Maker 2, which I expect at E3 will see the last trailer, so that the last big push prior to the launch 2 weeks, a little bit over 2 weeks afterwards.
And obviously, the game kind of sells itself because of what you just mentioned, where you create your own levels and you share them with friends. And I think that's it. I think they'll just mention that you can do that and then be like, oh, and by the way, in order to do that, you need a Nintendo Switch Online subscription.
Into the summer stuff, and I know this is the game you're most anticipated about, Fire Emblem Three Houses. So
I can't wait.
What more could they show without spoiling too much of the game?
Yeah, that's the hard thing, right? Is I don't want them to show off a lot of the story in the trailers. I just want them to show off unique battle situations, right? Show off maybe some more of that gameplay where we see that when you're attacking, you actually attack with an entire army behind you. Show off maybe whatever those boss battle things were. We saw a very brief glimpse of that in the first trailer. Just show off more of the music. I mean, for me, music is such a big part of Fire Emblem, and ultimately, the less of this we see, the better. Like, I'm extremely excited to see whatever we're going to see of Fire Emblem Three Houses at E3, but also if we only get a very brief trailer and we don't really see that much, I'm okay with that. I'm fully planning on doing a full playthrough on my YouTube channel of Three Houses, and probably on Twitch too. I'll probably stream it on Twitch and then do highlights on YouTube. But regardless, it's like, this is a game I'm really looking forward to, and I know there's a lot of controversy in recent years regarding Fire Emblem, and people don't like the direction the series is going, and there's been a lot of complaints about Three Houses based on the initial trailers that we've seen and how some people think the character designs are ugly. But I mean, ultimately, I loved Fates, I loved Awakening. I play Fire Emblem Heroes literally every day. I do my polls, I get the orbs, I do all my little daily routines in the morning, and so I am 100% stoked for Three Houses, and I fully believe, based on everything that we've heard of the game and based on everything I've heard from people who would know, that this game is going to be really, really good.
Yeah, the feeling I have is that Fire Emblem Three Houses is the ultimate compromise and next big step leap for the Fire Emblem franchise when it comes to the two trying to reunite the fan base, one on the waifu side and the other one on the core strategy war simulator almost. Almost side. So I think we get the best of two worlds here, and hopefully Three Houses will live up to the expectations. It looks like Intelligent Systems are really putting a lot of effort into this game. They delayed it, and it looks like the delay has really benefited the game.
Absolutely. And then, like I said, the music that we've heard so far is fantastic. I mean,
incredible.
Unfortunately, I'm sick while recording this with you, but I definitely would have broken out into song because that theme is very catchy.
Speaking of Fire Emblem Super Mario Maker 2, I mean the summer games, which games do you think will be playable at the booth at E3? Because it looks like they will not have one specific theme again, just like they did last year.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a big portion of the booth dedicated to Animal Crossing, and I think there'll be an Animal Crossing demo there. I think there will also be a pretty big portion of the booth dedicated to Pokemon Sword and Shield, even though I don't necessarily think we're going to see a lot of new Sword and Shield stuff during the Nintendo Direct. I think if anything, we're going to get a Pokemon Direct like a week before E3. That's normally what Pokemon Company does, but I think we'll see a big demo of Sword and Shield at E3, just like, again, how people were waiting in line to play the Let's Go demo last year. I think Three Houses will definitely be playable. Mario Maker will definitely be playable. I think Astral Chain will be playable. We haven't really talked about that yet. I think that will definitely be playable. And then, I don't know. I could see them having like a little setup for Smash Bros. Ultimate and whatever new character comes out. And maybe Town, if that's still a thing for this year. I could see Town. And also one other thing will probably be playable there that I'm not going to bring up yet. I'm going to bring it up in the surprise segment, things that we don't already know about, but things that we think are going to be there. And I think that game, when we get to it, I'll address which one I'm talking about. I think that game will be playable.
Mm-hmm. I do agree about those predictions when it comes to playable games. I would maybe also add Luigi's Mansion for reasons.
Oh, did I not say Luigi's Mansion? Oh, definitely Luigi's Mansion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, I have a feeling that Luigi's Mansion 3 is probably the game that is most likely to drown among all of these great experiences.
Yes. The thing is, though, Luigi's Mansion is in an interesting situation because, to me, that is primed to be their big October game, right? Mm-hmm. It's this spooky, Halloween-like title. People have been really actively waiting for a new Luigi's Mansion game, and I think, it might drown among all these titles at E3, but I do think that'll get a big push during E3 and then a big final push during that fall Nintendo Direct, and that when it finally comes out in October, people will be ready for it and excited for it.
I completely agree about it. This is the big Halloween push. I think Joey's at the door.
Oh, yeah.
Give me a few seconds. I'll be right back.
Sure, of course.
I guess we could just move over next to Astral Chain, because that is the big third-party push at this E3.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Is that still technically considered third-party if it's an exclusive still?
At this point, Nintendo needs to just buy Platinum, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They need to. One thing about Astral Chain that I want to bring up, and I actually see you guys wrote it in the outline, is I thoroughly believe we're not seeing anything Bayonetta 3
Absolutely
at E3. Literally not even a teaser. I think all of Platinum's push is going to be to Astral Chain. Mm-hmm. And that game looks really good, just based on that first trailer that we saw, and I think when we find out more information about it and we get this push as this new IP, I think it's going to really hit that Xenoblade kind of demographic, as well as hit that demographic that really loves Platinum's action games. So.
Oh, for sure. I just love action games in general, and I fully expect, I don't know if they confirmed if it's open world or not, but even then, it's just, the environments look great, and if it's just an environmental action game like Platinum's known for, let's face it, they're best at doing those type of games, then I'm all for this game. Seriously. Right.
And I do also see some similarities in this game to the gameplay that was in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 with the drivers and blades.
At first I was thinking, is this Xenoblade? What is this? And then it says Platinum, and I'm like, well,
crazy,
it's not that.
Because so many people in my comment section during my live stream were like, how could you possibly think this is a Monolith Soft game as soon as the Platinum thing came up? And I'm like, don't even front. All right, in your life, kick it. I know all of you thought that this was a Xenoblade X game before you saw the Platinum thing. So.
Bingo. I thought the same thing. Oh my gosh.
I know. Which, I'd be hyped for a new Xenoblade X. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'd be hyped for it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But how do you think they will push it at E3 in terms of the Direct?
They're really not. I don't think it's going to be this massive push. I think it's going to be something where they show it, we get a trailer, they're like, this is cool, but I don't think they're going to spend more than maybe 5 minutes on it. I really think the only things they're really going to spend time on are Animal Crossing. I think Animal Crossing is going to get a really, really big push. I think Fire Emblem might, but it's also coming out really soon, so I think that might upset people.
Yeah.
And I think Luigi's Mansion definitely is. I think Luigi's Mansion and Animal Crossing are set for at least like 10-minute segments. And Pokemon, like I mentioned earlier during this discussion, I think there's going to be a Pokemon Direct before this. I really don't think they're going to have a big Pokemon blowout during the actual E3 Direct. I think that's going to be a separate thing that Pokemon Company's going to handle.
Do you think we'll see the legendaries or key gimmick revealed before E3 or at E3?
I think the key gimmick will be before E3. I think in whatever that Pokemon Direct is going to be, we'll probably see the 2 legendaries. We'll probably see the gimmick of the game. We'll probably see some more Pokemon as well. Most likely like the Rattata and the Pidgey and, all the basic, the Caterpie and Weedle of this generation, That's usually what we end up getting at E3. I remember during Sun and Moon, we got Donald Trump Weasel and and Grubbin. So I feel like we'll probably get the same thing at this E3.
Only English references this time instead of American, I guess.
Exactly.
Brexit.
All those memes.
Right, yeah. Farage the rat or something? Yeah, I don't know. It'd be funny.
That'd be great.
Okay, so since we are at the topic of Pokemon, do you think that this pushes Town out of 2019?
No, I actually don't. And in fact, I think Town is going to be a 2019 game. And the reason I think that is this. Game Freak usually does have a side project in the works whenever they're making a Pokemon game. Like those little small passion projects. We saw this with Tembo, the badass elephant, a couple years ago. We even saw this with Pulseman back during like the Genesis era. And so I do think that Town is sort of their passion project. Obviously, they're passionate about Pokemon, naturally. But I think a lot of their effort outside of Pokemon is going to this Town game. And I think people are sort of underestimating how big that game is going to be. I think it's really going to hit that Harvest Moon kind of demographic. Also sort of mixed with like a monster hunting kind, not Monster Hunter, but like Monster Rancher is sort of more the vibe I'm getting from it. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but it seems like Monster Rancher mixed with like Harvest Moon. I don't know, it really does seems to hit that demo. My big concern though is that that demo also seems to be the demo for Animal Crossing. So if that game is still coming out this year, if Town is coming out this year, and Animal Crossing still makes it out this year, I could see Town being maybe like an August release. Like I could see Town coming out much earlier than we expect, and then Animal Crossing coming out really, really late in the year, or like I said, potentially being that one game that gets pushed to 2020, early 2020.
Yeah, I feel like Town needs to move like far, far away from these other games, like as furthest away it possibly can. Because I feel like I see it getting buried under the likes of course, Animal Crossing and Pokemon.
Oh, for sure.
But, that we'll just have to wait and see if it makes it to 2019 or not. So,
Yeah.
And before we move over to the next section, which we'll talk about the surprise game that you referenced, we need to touch at least on the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC. And do you think it's time for the big Microsoft Nintendo first Western character reveal for the next DLC pack?
So we're all in agreement, right? And I feel like this is the general consensus on Twitter that the next character is the Dragon Quest character, and that character is going to stealth drop during E3, and that there will also be the announcement of the third Challenger Pack character, and that character will be announced, and then it'll come out in like fall.